Hi guys, so today we are going to be doing history revision from week 10 to week 18. We're going to see what you guys can remember from what we learnt in class as well as on Edmodo. I hope you guys enjoy. Can you remember in week 10 we learnt about the Viking raiders? The Vikings came from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. They were great sailors and traders, but were also fierce warriors. They attacked and robbed villages all around the coast of Europe. The Vikings made their attacks in fast boats called longships. The ships were strong enough to sail across rough seas. Viking chiefs lived in large homes called longhouses. Each house had only one big room where everyone ate, worked, and slept. The Vikings made beautiful brooches, arm rings, and belt buckles from gold, silver, and bronze. They also carved spoons and combs from pieces of animal bone and horn. So, guys, in week 11, we learnt about African kingdoms. Africa is an enormous continent with hot sandy deserts, thick forests, and huge grassy plains. In Mali, in West Africa, people dug gold out of the ground. Traders came from North Africa to buy the gold, and Mali became very rich. Traders from North Africa used camels to get across to the Sahara Desert to Mali. In the grasslands of southern Africa was the city of Great Zimbabwe. Its people grew rich by trading gold and copper. Ethiopia was a Christian kingdom. King Lalibela built 11 churches out of solid rock. In week 12, we learnt about living in a castle. In the Middle Ages, kings and lords in Europe often fought each other for land. They built castles with strong stone walls to protect themselves. A lord lived in a castle with his family and all his soldiers and servants. They had no glass in the windows. Knights were soldiers who fought on horseback. Only boys could train to be knights. They had to be strong and brave. Feasts took place in the great hall of the castle. The guests ate lots of rich food, such as roast swan, spiced beef, squirrel, and stew. A jester told jokes to make guests laugh, and musicians called minstrels played their instruments. In week 13, we learnt about living in a village. In the Middle Ages, most people in Europe were farmers who lived in small villages. The land around each village belonged to a lord. The villagers lived in simple cottages with straw roofs and bare floors. Inside the cottages was just one big room with a fire in the middle for cooking. Some houses had a stable at one end where people kept their animals. Most villages had 3 big fields. Each family had a few strips of land in each field. People planted wheat and parsley in tuff in the field. In 1347, a terrible illness spread to Europe from Asia. It was called the Black Death because people got sick with black spots on their bodies. In week 14, we learnt about Inca cities. The Incas lived in the Andes Mountains of South America. Most of them were farmers, but they were also great builders. The Incas built huge cities from massive blocks of stone. They used stone hammers to shape the blocks so that they would fit together. The Incas built stone roads to link their cities together. Teams of runners used the roads to carry messages from city to city. Llamas were used for carrying heavy loads. The Incas made bridges out of reeds so people could get across valleys and rivers. Inca farmers grew corn, potatoes, peppers, beans, tomatoes, and squash. They kept guinea pigs for their meat. In week 15, we learned about Aztec life. The Aztecs lived in what is now Mexico. They were fierce warriors and were often at war with other groups. Winning war gave Aztecs lots of new land and they became very powerful. The best warriors were the Eagle Knights and the Jaguar Knights. In the middle of the capital city was a huge square filled with temples. The Aztecs believed that their sun god needed a human heart to stay alive. The Aztecs priests killed thousands of people and gave their hearts to the god. Farmers grew food in huge floating fields. The baskets were filled with mud and soil. They grew corn, beans, tomatoes, and peppers. Can you remember in week 16 we learned about Italian ideas? In Italy, people began to study the art and learning of ancient Greece and Rome. Rich people called patrons paid artists to create paintings and statues for them. Architects studied the ruins of Roman buildings to find out how they were built. They then designed new buildings. The Florence Cathedral was one of the first examples of the new Renaissance style. Artists found new ways to make their paintings more realistic. Inventors worked on new designs for clocks, weapons, water pumps, and other machines. These machines were designed by a man named Leonardo da Vinci. In week 17, we learned about exploring the world. In Europe, spices and silk from India and China were very popular and very expensive. The spices were ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, and pepper. Explorers had to be brave. They sailed for months at a time. Lots of sailors got sick and died because they had no fresh fruit or vegetables. People in Europe believed the earth was flat, but some thought it was round. There were no maps of the oceans, so sailors had to find their own way across. Sailors used a compass to find out which way the ship was going. In week 18, we learnt about Tudor England. The Tudors were a family of kings and queens. They ruled England for over 100 years and made the country rich and powerful. This is a painting of King Henry VIII. King Henry was 17 years old when he became king. He was married 6 times and only had 3 children. Many explorers sailed to the North and South America. They brought back new food like potatoes. Some explorers were pirates too. They stole treasures from Spanish ships. Queen Elizabeth was the last and the greatest of the Tudors. She ruled England for 45 years. People loved plays. They performed in playhouses such as the Globe.
That's all, folks.